But just as they were about to climb back down, disaster struck. The ladder suddenly shifted, screws popping out one by one, echoing like the ticking of a time bomb. Then, Becky's foot slipped. She screamed as her body dropped into open air. But just before vanishing into the clouds below, the safety rope yanked her to a stop. Becky dangled in midair, 2,000 feet off the ground, swinging like a broken pendulum over death itself. Hunter gripped the rope with every ounce of strength, knuckles turning white, trying to haul her friend back up. But her foot suddenly slipped on the metal beam, sending another violent jolt down the rope. Becky let out a blood-curdling scream that echoed through the sky. By some miracle, Hunter regained her balance. Working together, Becky pulled, Hunter climbed, until finally Becky reached the top again, trembling but alive. But before they could even catch their breath, they looked down and froze. The ladder was gone, completely torn off. Now they were stranded. Hunter immediately grabbed her phone. No signal, nothing. Just the endless wind howling through the steel frame. Desperately, they searched the small toolbox on the platform. Inside, they found a pair of old binoculars and a flare gun with a few rounds. Then, Hunter noticed something. The photo she posted earlier, before they climbed, had just hit over 300 likes. That meant there was signal, somewhere lower down. Hunter's eyes lit up. She typed a quick rescue message, tied her phone to a rope, and slowly lowered it. But the rope wasn't long enough. The message never sent, so she made a reckless decision. Ignoring Becky's terrified protests, Hunter stepped out of the safety cage and climbed down the side, gripping the broken ladder. Dangling over 2,000 feet of empty air, she kept lowering herself, phone in hand, trying to get just a bit more signal. Becky could barely breathe, watching her best friend hanging by a thread over certain death. Still nothing. No bars, no service. Hunter's muscles started to give out. She had no choice but to climb back up. Then Becky had an idea, a desperate one. If the signal's at the ground, she said, why not send the phone all the way down? Hunter hesitated for a moment, then nodded. They wrapped the phone inside her shoe, then used Hunter's bra as padding, tying it tight like a makeshift shock absorber. They whispered a quick prayer and tossed it. The shoe fell for what felt like forever before disappearing into the earth below. But they had no idea if it survived the fall. Hours passed. Still no rescue, no messages, no sound. Hunter and Becky stared at each other, realization sinking in. The phone must have been destroyed on impact. Then suddenly, Hunter spotted movement below through the binoculars. A man walking near the base of the tower. Their hearts exploded with hope. They screamed for help, waving their arms wildly. But the wind swallowed their voices. The man didn't hear a thing. Becky ripped off one of her shoes and threw it down. It hit the dirt with a dull thud. No reaction. She threw the other one, and this time it clanged loudly against a metal beam. The man finally turned. He looked around, spotted the shoe, picked it up, but never looked up. After a few confused seconds, he tossed it aside and walked away. The girls were shattered. Desperation set in. Becky grabbed the flare gun, ready to shoot, but Hunter stopped her. The sun's too bright, she said. No one will see it now. Then Hunter noticed something. An RV parked nearby. Maybe the man was camping. Maybe he'd come back later. They decided to wait. When night finally fell, they aimed high and fired the flare. The sky lit up crimson, a fiery streak tearing through the darkness. Through the binoculars, they saw the man below stop. He looked up. The girls screamed with joy. Finally, someone had seen them. But then, their hope turned to horror. The man didn't grab his phone or call for help. He walked straight toward their truck. Wait, what is he doing? Becky whispered. They watched helplessly as he smashed their window with a metal rod, climbed in, and started the engine. Their car roared to life and rolled away, leaving nothing but dust. Their last hope gone. Now they were truly stranded. No water, no food, no signal. As the scorching sun rose again, the tower became their prison. Hunter made another decision, one that could kill her. She tied off the safety rope and prepared to climb down to the large satellite dish below, where their backpack had fallen earlier. Becky begged her not to go, tears in her eyes, but Hunter didn't listen. She started her descent, every step slow, precise, terrifying. Her hands trembled as the wind roared past her ears. Then, her foot slipped. She swung violently, hanging by a single rope, heart pounding out of her chest. But she didn't give up. She steadied herself and kept going down. When she finally reached the end of the rope, the backpack was still too far. She reached for it, no use. Becky screamed from above, "Come back!" But Hunter had a crazier plan. She unclipped her safety rope. Now, she was hanging free, no protection. She swung back and forth, timing her momentum. Then she kicked off the tower wall and launched herself into the air. Becky's heart stopped. Miraculously, Hunter landed perfectly on the dish below. The first thing she did? She ripped open the backpack and pulled out a water bottle, chugging it like she hadn't seen water in years. Becky watched in silence, throat dry and heart racing. But then came the real question. How would she get back up? Hunter looked up at the rope above, just out of reach. She had an idea. She took out her selfie stick, extended it, and tried to hook the rope loop. Once, twice, 3 times. Nothing. Then, click, she got it. Hunter crouched, aimed carefully, and jumped, grabbing the rope midair. Becky gasped and grabbed the line, pulling with every ounce of strength. Hand over hand, Hunter climbed like her life depended on it. Just as she neared the top, her arms gave out. Her fingers slipped. Becky screamed. Hunter fell, but at the last second, she caught the rope. Her hands tore open from the friction, blood running down the line, but she held on. Becky snapped out of her panic, braced herself, and began hauling with everything she had. Inch by inch, she pulled until finally, Hunter reached the top again. The backpack came up too, with water, and something else, a drone. Becky ripped it open and found a receipt. She grabbed an eyeliner pencil, flipped the paper over, and scribbled a message begging for help. They attached it to the drone and sent it flying toward the nearest town. For a moment, hope filled the air again, but halfway through its flight, the battery died. The drone fell from the sky and Becky caught it just before it hit the edge. She stared at the blank screen, heartbroken. They were back to square one. Then, a new idea sparked. The light at the very top of the tower. Maybe it could charge the drone. Becky didn't hesitate. She climbed higher, higher, until she reached the signal light. She unscrewed the top and plugged the drone's charger in. To her shock, it worked. She sat there for 2 long hours, unmoving, as the battery slowly charged. When it was finally ready, she raced back down and launched the drone again, sending it straight toward the motel in the distance. It soared over the desert, past the cliffs, almost there. Buildings appeared on the camera feed. Becky's face lit up with hope. But then, disaster struck again. A speeding truck came out of nowhere and smashed the drone to pieces. Becky froze. Her eyes widened in disbelief. So close, yet gone again. The driver stepped out, glanced around, and never noticed the crumpled note on the ground. Then he got back in his truck and drove off into the horizon. Becky collapsed in tears. The sound of the wind was the only thing left, but what happened next was worse. When she turned toward Hunter, Hunter's face wasn't right. Her skin was pale, her wound rotten and dried, and in that moment, Becky realized the horrifying truth. Hunter was already dead. She never survived that fall. Becky had been hallucinating the whole time. It was just the backpack she had pulled up, not Hunter. Since then, Becky had been completely alone on that tower, talking to a memory. She collapsed on the platform, completely unconscious under the burning sun. A hungry vulture flew down and pecked at her bloody thigh, but Becky quietly opened her eyes, locked her gaze on the bird, and grabbed it by the neck. The vulture struggled violently, but Becky, starving and furious, managed to wrestle it down. Then she started eating it raw. She didn't care. She only had one thought left: survive no matter what. After eating, Becky untied the safety rope. She climbed down the remaining ladder section and clipped the rope to the lowest bar. Then she dropped the rest of the rope, grabbed it, and began sliding down fast. This time, there was no hesitation. Her moves were sharp and confident. She reached the end of the rope in no time, unclipped the lock, and jumped onto the dish. She looked at Hunter's decaying body and felt a flood of emotions. But what she did next was even more unbelievable. She typed a message to her dad asking for help, even though there was still no signal. Then she took off Hunter's shoe, put the phone inside, and pushed it deep into Hunter's stomach through the wound. With everything in place, Becky gave the body one hard push and sent it falling 2,000 feet to the ground with the flesh and shoe cushioning the fall. The phone would survive, and when it hit the ground, the signal would come back and the message would be sent. Back home, her father, James, received the text. He called 911 right away and rushed to the tower. Becky was finally rescued. The moment Becky saw her dad, she ran straight into his arms and broke down, sobbing.